Hi, I'm Natasha Broznitsky, Fire Information Officer stationed in the Williams Lake area here. Today, for today's video update, I'd like to talk briefly about the weather, as it is the main story in terms of fire this weekend. Then I'll move on to a very brief kind of overview of where we are seeing increased activity on fires. I'll touch on the BC Wildfire Service's priorities for the weekend in light of the wind we're expecting, and I'll also briefly talk about the backcountry ban, which I know there are a lot of questions about. So from yesterday's video update, where we did quite a detailed look at the weather, the things we talked about yesterday are starting to come into play as forecasted. So we've already picked up a couple of lightning strikes, predominantly in the middle of the fire center. But the good news is that we've had no new fires start today, as of here 5 o'clock this evening. So we are going to hope that stays that way. And we do have initial attack crews on standby to respond to new fires as they start. But good news is that we don't have anything yet. In terms of the timing of the cold front passage, it's looking similar to what it looked like yesterday, in that it starts overnight tonight and it should be out of the fire center by midday tomorrow. So we're still expecting the strong winds and the wind shifts with the cold front. And in fact, winds have already started to pick up in some areas, particularly in the west. Slight bit of good news is that we also have already seen some temperature decreases and some relative humidity increases. So it is getting windier. The good news is that it's already starting to get a bit cooler and damper in the air as well. Our new, the forecast today for the Cariboo Fire Centre in terms of the rain amounts, the new models are predicting more rain than they did yesterday, which is great news for us. It's looking like areas in the west will see at least a few millimeters, and some areas in the east of the Cariboo Fire Centre may see rainfall amounts into the upper 20 millimeter range, which is a significant amount. I will say that rain does help decrease fire behavior in the short term, but if we do get back into a period of hot, dry, and windy weather, the beneficial effects of rain can disappear quite quickly. So we've already seen this summer. We did get some rain back in July that did help decrease the fire danger ratings, decrease fire behavior for a little bit, but here now, this weekend and in the last few days, we've already been back into extreme fire danger ratings, very, very high fine fuel moisture codes, which is the sort of indicator of how dry and easily burnable the small fuels are. And we've seen essentially high indices across everything. So it doesn't take long for the effects of rain to diminish if we get back into hot, dry weather. I'll move on to just briefly touching on some of the fires in terms of where we're seeing activity today. So, like I said, we are already starting to see wind, and this is played into some of the increased fire behavior we're seeing. So we are seeing increases in fire behavior on the Hansville fire, as well as Elephant Hill. Some fires in the Quesnel Lake area, but not all, and as well as the Tawtree fire is seeing increased behavior. The other issue we're sort of dealing with today, particularly in the Quesnel fire zone, so affecting fires such as the Tawtree fire, the Bazico River fire, and fires closer to this town of Quesnel, like Green Mountain and Castle Rock. Visibility is really poor. They're having quite a tough time seeing very far, so that's not helpful in terms of aircraft or general fire suppression. Given our forecast for the weekend with winds and wind shifts, the priorities for the Cariboo Fire Centre remain safety of first responders responding to fires, as well as the safety of the public. We will also be prioritizing protecting transportation corridors so that people can move in and out of areas as they need to. And we will also prioritize conducting aggressive initial attack on new fire starts. If we can prevent new fires from getting big, it will really help us out, of course, in the long run, not having any more large fires on the landscape. I'll touch briefly on the backcountry ban. I know it's been confusing, and it was not our intention to make it confusing. So I hope to clear up a few questions. And if you do have further questions, we encourage you to call the Cariboo Fire Centre at 250-989-2600, and someone will be able to help you out there or forward you to someone who will help you out. So we encourage you to leave a voicemail if you don't get through right away. So Off-road vehicles are already restricted by a previous restriction in the Cariboo Fire Centre. The public cannot use off-road vehicles to recreate on Crown land. We felt we needed to close all access to Crown land, given the extreme fire danger ratings and the amount of fire that we have in the Cariboo Fire Centre. Our focus is really on trying to prevent new human-caused fires, and we feel that keeping people out of the backcountry of the Crown land essentially will help with that. If you have a residence that is accessed through any sort of public road, you can go to that residence. It doesn't matter if it's your permanent residence or a vacation residence. We just ask that once you're at a residence that you do not enter onto Crown land to recreate. And it is unfortunate, but unfortunately lakes are also Crown land, so we cannot recreate on the lakes in the Cariboo at the moment. Commercial activities aren't prevented by the current backcountry restriction, so commercial operators doing normal business can continue. We will just say that, of course, the evacuation orders by the CRD still do have effect. So if people cannot enter an evacuation order area, and that is not affected by the backcountry ban we have in the Cariboo Fire Centre. I think that's all I wanted to touch on today. Please, if you do have questions about the backcountry ban or fires in the Cariboo, reach out to the Cariboo Fire Centre, and bcwildfire.ca is also a good source of information. Thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon.